Welcome to Daily Review, your daily dose of literary exploration. We dive into books that spark curiosity and ignite growth. While our passion often leads us to nonfiction reads that empower and improve your life, no book is off limits. From gripping thrillers to insightful memoirs and compelling fiction to historical accounts, we're here to share and discuss all the interesting reads we discover. Tune in for your next great book idea. Today we're diving deep into Blue Ocean Strategy by W. Chan Kim and Renee Mauborgne. Now, this isn't just your run-of-the-mill business book. It's a whole way of thinking about competition or maybe making it disappear.
Yeah, making it irrelevant.
Exactly. Imagine a guide to creating entirely new playing fields where, the old rivals just aren't really a factor anymore.
And what's really compelling, I think, is the sheer amount of research behind it. This wasn't just a weekend project. Tim and Mauborgne spent, over 15 years? 15 years, yeah. Analyzing over 150 strategic moves.
Across more than 30 industries, going back like a century. So this isn't just abstract theory. These are ideas tested in the real world, Europe, the U.S., Asia. It's got grounding.
Okay, so let's try and get our heads around this main idea.
Right.
Blue oceans versus red oceans. The book draws a really vivid picture, doesn't it?
It does. The red ocean, think of that as the known market space. Everyone's fighting over the same customers, the same slice of the pie. Gets crowded, competitive.
Little Eddie, as they say.
Right, hence the red. But a blue ocean, that's different. That's uncharted territory. It's about creating a new market, creating demand, not just fighting over what's already there.
So you're breaking away from the pack.
Exactly. And, stepping back a bit, the authors are really challenging a pretty standard view in business strategy. This structuralist idea that market boundaries, industry structures, they're kind of fixed, set in stone.
Like the rules of the game are already written.
Precisely. But they propose this reconstructionist view. It basically says, no, hang on. Companies can change the rules. Their actions, their beliefs about what's possible can actually reshape the entire industry structure.
So you can change the game board itself, not just how you play on it.
That's a great way to put it. And it's not just wishful thinking. They don't just say, go be creative. The book gives you actual tools, framework.
Right, practical stuff.
To systematically find and build these blue oceans. And it considers both the analytical side, the strategy stuff, and the human side. How do you get your people, your organization to actually make this leap?
Okay, let's dig into that. A core concept seems to be value innovation. What exactly do they mean by that? Is it just like better quality?
Not quite. It's more radical. Value innovation is about fundamentally driving up the value you offer buyers while at the same time driving down your costs.
Ah, okay. So it's not a trade-off, like better stuff usually costs more.
Exactly. It's pursuing both differentiation and low cost. They argue that this leap in value creates a win-win, good for the company, great for the customers.
But how do you achieve that? It sounds difficult.
Well, it requires real alignment. The utility your product offers, its price point, and your cost structure, they all have to work together in sync.
Makes sense.
And crucially, for it to stick, to be sustainable, you also need alignment with the people. Your employees, partners, maybe even your customers need to buy into this new way of doing things.
So how do you find these opportunities for value innovation? Where do you start looking?
Good question. The book offers some really useful analytical tools. The first one is the strategy canvas.
Okay, what's that?
Think of it like a diagnostic tool, a visual snapshot of the current state of play in an industry. It maps out the factors that companies currently compete on: price, features, service, whatever it might be. And then it shows where each competitor invests, their offering level on each factor. It gives you a clear picture of where everyone's focus is.
So you can see where the competition is clustered, where everyone's fighting the same battles.
Exactly. And more importantly, it helps you spot where there might be gaps, where you could potentially diverge and create something new. It highlights the assumptions the industry takes for granted.
I see. It shows you the red ocean clearly so you can figure out how to swim away from it.
Precisely. And that leads right into their next tool, the 4 actions framework. This is really practical for actually reshaping that value curve you see on the canvas.
4 actions. Okay, what are they?
It forces you to ask 4 key questions about the way your industry currently operates. First, which factors that the industry takes for granted should be eliminated entirely?
Get rid of them completely.
Yeah. Things that customers might not even value anymore, or that add cost without real benefit. Second, which factors should be reduced well below the industry standard?
Okay, scale them back.
Third, which factors should be raised well above the industry standard? Where can you offer significantly more value?
Amp things up.
And fourth, The really exciting one. Which factors should be created that the industry has never offered before?
Wow. So eliminate, reduce, raise, create. Those really push you beyond just tweaking things.
Absolutely. It's about reconstructing the elements of buyer value. Instead of just benchmarking and trying to be marginally better, you're fundamentally rethinking the offering.
The book uses Cirque du Soleil as a prime example, right? How did they apply this?
Cirque is a classic case. They looked at the traditional circus. What did they eliminate? Things like animal acts, which were costly and becoming controversial, and also star performers.
Right. No more ringmaster in the same way.
What did they reduce? Maybe some of the traditional thrills and danger aspects.
Hmm.
But then what did they raise? They raised the artistic elements, the production value, the sophistication. Think themes, storylines, original music, dance.
Things you'd expect more from theater.
Exactly. And what did they create? They created a whole new form of entertainment that blended circus arts with theater, appealing to an adult audience willing to pay premium prices. They didn't compete with Ringling Bros. They created a blue ocean.
That makes it very clear. It wasn't just a better circus, it was something else entirely.
And another great example they use is yellowtail wine in the U.S. market.
Ah, yes. The kangaroo wine.
Right. The U.S. wine market was traditionally pretty intimidating. Complex labels, talk of tannins, vintages.
Very confusing if you weren't an expert.
Totally. So Yellowtail applied the framework. What did they eliminate? All that complex wine jargon, the emphasis on heritage and vineyard specifics.
Okay.
What did they reduce? The range of choices, the complexity of the taste profile perhaps. What did they raise? The ease of selection, simple labels, just a couple of main varietals, and the ease of drinking, making it more approachable, fruit forward.
And create.
They created a sense of fun, adventure, and simplicity around wine. The bright labels, the straightforward branding, it appealed to people who were maybe beer or cocktail drinkers, people put off by traditional wine culture.
They essentially demystified wine for a huge new audience.
Exactly. They created a massive blue ocean in a very established market by focusing on non-customers and rethinking what value meant.
So these tools help you find the what. Does the book talk about where to look for these opportunities systematically?
It does. It outlines 6 main paths, sort of different lenses you can use to look for blue ocean possibilities. They call them the 6 paths framework.
Okay, path number 1.
Path 1 is look across alternative industries. This means thinking about industries whose products or services look different, but actually fulfill a similar function or need for the customer. Why do people choose one over the other?
Like choosing between a restaurant and cooking at home, sort of. Or like NetJets. They looked at commercial airlines on one hand and owning a private jet on the other. Both offer air travel, but very differently. NetJets created fractional ownership, a blue ocean sitting between those alternatives.
I see. Or NTT Docomo's iMode in Japan.
Right. They look at mobile phones and the internet, 2 separate things then, and created mobile internet access, a completely new market at the time.
Okay, path 2.
Look across strategic groups within industries. Strategic groups are companies within the same industry that pursue a similar strategy. Think luxury cars versus economy cars. This path involves understanding why customers trade up to a higher tier or trade down to a lower tier. Curve's fitness centers, for example, looked at traditional full-service health clubs and simple home exercise programs. They carved out a space targeting women who wanted something more than home exercise, but less complex and intimidating than a big gym.
Makes sense. Path 3. Look across the chain of buyers. Often the person who purchases a product isn't the main user, or there are key influencers involved. Focusing on a different group in that chain can unlock new value.
Give me an example.
Novo Nordisk with insulin. Traditionally, the focus was on doctors, but Novo Nordisk shifted focus to the patients using the insulin. They developed the NovoPen, making self-injection much easier and less stigmatizing for the user. That changed the game.
Or Bloomberg terminals.
Perfect example. They bypassed the IT managers, who usually bought systems, and targeted the traders and analysts and the actual users, giving them indispensable data and functionality, forcing the IT departments to follow.
Clever. Okay, path 4.
Look across complementary product and service offerings. Think about what happens before, during, and after your product is used. Often the key to value lies in these complementary areas.
Like what?
Like Philips, creating electric kettles with built-in lime scale filters. The kettle is the core product, but the filter addresses a common problem that affects the use of the kettle bad-tasting tea. Or NDI, the bus company, looking beyond the purchase price to the total life cycle cost for municipalities, maintenance, fuel, etc., and designing buses accordingly.
Got it. Thinking about the whole customer experience, path 5.
Look across functional or emotional appeal to buyers. Some industries compete primarily on function and price, others more on feelings and emotions. This path explores shifting that orientation.
That's so.
QB House, the Japanese barbershop chain. They took the typically service-oriented, slightly emotional experience of a haircut and made it purely functional, quick, cheap, no frills. They competed on speed and convenience.
And the opposite.
Cemex in Mexico, their Patrimonio Hoy program. Cement is a functional product. But they shifted the appeal to the emotional dream of homeownership for low-income families, adding financing and support. It wasn't just about selling cement bags anymore.
That's powerful. Okay, the last one, path 6.
Look across time. This is about identifying decisive external trends, technological, regulatory, social, and projecting how they will change customer value and create new opportunities. You're not just reacting to trends, you're trying to shape the market that emerges from them.
Like Apple with iTunes.
Exactly. They saw the trend of digital music and illegal file sharing growing. Instead of just fighting it, they created a legal, easy-to-use ecosystem with iTunes and the iPod, shaping the future of digital music consumption.
So those 6 paths give you structured ways to brainstorm potential blue oceans. But identifying one is just the start, right? What about actually doing it?
Absolutely. Formulation and execution are critical. The book really stresses focusing on the big picture first. Use that strategy canvas to visualize your plan, rather than getting lost in spreadsheets and budgets too early.
Keep your eye on the overall strategic direction.
Right. And a huge part of formulating the strategy is thinking beyond your existing customers. You need to reach into the pool of non-customers.
Non-customers, people who aren't buying from you or your competitors.
Well, they break it down into 3 tiers. Tier 1, soon-to-be non-customers who are minimally using current offerings, but are mentally looking for alternatives. Tier 2, refusing non-customers who consciously choose against the market's offerings. And Tier 3, unexplored non-customers in distant markets who haven't been considered potential customers at all.
Okay, examples.
President. A manger targeted busy professionals, Tier 1, who are unhappy with traditional fast food, but didn't always have time for sit-down restaurants. JCDecaux offered free street furniture to cities, Tier 2, that actively refused traditional billboard advertising. The Joint Strike Fighter program tried to aggregate demand across different military branches, exploring Tier 3 in a sense, by finding common needs.
So you need to understand why people aren't buying in your market.
Precisely. Then the book talks about getting the strategic sequence right. You have to test your idea in a specific order.
What's the sequence?
First, buyer utility. Is there exceptional value for the buyer? Does it solve a major pain point? They mentioned the failure of Philips' CDI. Technically cool, but did people really need it? Not enough utility.
Okay, utility first.
Then, second, price. Is your price easily accessible to the target mass of buyers? You need to look at the price corridor of the mass. Third, cost. Can you produce it at your target cost and still make a healthy profit margin? This might involve streamlining, cost innovations, partnerships like IKEA does.
Utility, price, cost. What's the last one?
Fourth, adoption. What are the hurdles to adopting your idea for partners, employees, the public? You need to address these proactively.
So even a great idea at the right price and cost can fail if people resist adopting it.
Exactly. And that ties into execution. Overcoming organizational hurdles is often the biggest challenge. They introduce tipping point leadership.
Tipping point, like Malcolm Gladwell.
Similar idea, but applied to internal change. It's about focusing your resources on the people, acts, and activities that exercise a disproportionate influence on performance. Instead of trying to change everyone at once, you focus on the key levers.
Like Bill Bratton turning around the NYPD.
That's their key example. He focused on specific hurdles, cognitive, getting people to agree on the problem, resource, limited budget, motivational, unmotivated staff, and political opposition, and used focused tactics to overcome them quickly.
And they also stress fair process for execution.
Yes, hugely important. You need to build execution into the strategy from the start. Fair process involves engagement, involving people in decisions that affect them, explanation, making sure everyone understands why decisions are made, and expectation clarity, clearly stating the new rules and standards.
So people feel respected and understand what's happening.
Right. It builds trust and encourages voluntary cooperation rather than just compliance. Their comparison of the Chester and Hyde Park plants shows how dramatically fair process can affect outcomes.
So bringing it all together.
It boils down to aligning 3 propositions for a sustainable strategy. The value proposition, attracting buyers, the profit proposition, ensuring the company makes money, and the people proposition, motivating those involved in execution.
And if one is missing?
Things tend to fall apart. Comic Relief is shown as a success because it aligned all three: compelling value for donors, clear profit impact model, huge engagement from people. Napster initially had a strong value proposition, but failed on the profit and people, legal artist side.
Okay. Before we wrap up, they also mentioned some traps to avoid.
Yeah, red ocean traps. Common misconceptions, like thinking Blue Ocean is just about technology innovation, or that it only applies to new businesses, or that it's synonymous with being customer-led. Sometimes you need to lead customers to value they didn't know they needed. Basically, pitfalls that keep companies stuck in the competitive fight.
And they should. This isn't entirely new, right? With historical examples.
Definitely. Ford Model T creating mass automobility, GM shifting to emotional appeal with different models, Japanese cars focusing on fuel efficiency, IBM shaping the computer industry.
Huh?
These shifts have happened throughout history. The book just provides a framework to do it more systematically.
So the big takeaway is this reconstructionist view that managers aren't just dealt a hand, they can reshape the industry by creating these blue oceans through value innovation.
Exactly. Shifting focus from supply to demand, from competition to creating new value, and actively reconstructing market boundaries.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Daily Review. We truly appreciate you joining us for your daily dose of literary exploration. Your support means the world to us and helps us continue to share these amazing books with you. Blue Ocean Strategy gives you, the learner, a really powerful and, I think, practical way to think beyond the usual competitive grind.
Yeah, it definitely challenges you.
It challenges you to look for that untapped potential, to create completely new value propositions. And it's relevant whether you're, prepping for a meeting, trying to get up to speed in your field, or just driven by plain curiosity.
And the examples really help ground it. Seeing how it worked for Yellowtail Wine or even the NYPD, it shows the breadth. It's not just for tech startups.
Right. It can apply across different sectors, even nonprofits or public sector work. We really hope this deep dive sparks some, aha moments for you.
Hopefully a useful shortcut to the core ideas without getting totally bogged down.
Yeah. And maybe start thinking about those 4 actions: eliminate, reduce, raise, create in your own context. What red oceans might you be swimming in?
And what blue oceans could potentially be out there if you look differently across those alternatives or strategic groups or the buyer chain.
Or complementary offerings, or even that functional versus emotional appeal. Lots to think about. If today's review sparked your interest and you're ready to dive into a copy of the book, please consider using the link in our description to make your purchase. Not only does it make it easy for you to get your hands on the book, but it also directly supports our channel and the author, allowing us to keep bringing you more great content. Thanks again for being a part of the Daily Review community. And for further exploration, definitely check out the author's ongoing work. There are tons of resources online about Blue Ocean Strategy now.
It's become quite influential.
So what are your thoughts on this whole reconstructionist idea? Can market boundaries really be reshaped so fundamentally? Do you see any blue oceans emerging right now?
It's a fascinating question to ponder. Where's the next big value innovation going to come from?
Definitely something to keep thinking about.